Welcome back to the AZ Gooner. In today's video, I'm going to be giving an update on the first 3 weeks of the Premier League season so far. Arsenal currently sit fifth after 3 games, winning 2, drawing 1. And if we look at all 3 performances so far, I'll say they're pretty underwhelming performances. The first one against Nottingham Forest, I think we pretty much controlled the game throughout until Nottingham Forest scored in around the 80th minute, and then it became a bit nervy, but I'd say a decent performance for the first game of the season. Second game, away at Crystal Palace, where we opened up the season last year with a 2-0 victory. This year we went there, got a 1-0 victory. Uh, it wasn't the most convincing performance. I feel like we struggled to create chances, but we ultimately got the penalty and keep a clean sheet. And it was Arteta's first away win on a Monday night. You could tell he was very happy about that victory. And then the most recent game against Fulham at home, 2-2. Very, very annoyed at that performance. I think we totally beat ourselves in that game. Letting Fulham score in the first minute, which is not the first time that's happened. If we look back at the end of last season, 2 games in our title run, we gave up goals within a minute at home. And so that's definitely not just a coincidence that's happening. I don't know why. Maybe it's a lack of focus, a bit maybe we're a bit too comfortable at home, and which is leading to these crazy moments where this has to stop. I don't know why our home form has been bad recently, but ultimately we then came back to go 2-1 up, and then a late goal from Fulham off of a corner when they had 10 men was unacceptable, to be letting that lead go, and 2 points drop right there. And I know it's 3 games into the season, and I'd rather be learning and improving from these games earlier on in the season than having these mistakes at the end of the year. I hope to play our best football at the end of the year, but I think just because of last year, how quick we started and how on form we were from the very jump, I think it makes this season. I think fans were expecting that the same this season, especially considering the money we spent in the transfer window and another year under Arteta. I think we just expected more, but it's still early. I'm not panicking, but 3 pretty underwhelming performances so far to start the season. If we look at the team Arteta's been playing, so far, the first 3 games of the season, Gabriel, our center back, who started or played in at least every single game last season, so far the first 3 games of the season has not played, and people were getting concerned about that. But I think it's all tactical. I think in the first 3 games we've seen Thomas Partey play at right back, which he didn't do at all last season until the very end, and we saw Kivior come in at left back, and so far it just hasn't worked out. I feel like this formation, this new system, struggles to create clear-cut chances. If you look at what happens when we attack, Thomas Partey inverts from right back, whereas last season we saw Zinchenko inverting from left back. And we've seen a couple players play so far in that left back position. Timber started off. He ended up getting a ACL injury, which is going to hurt this team a lot. I mean, we already saw how good of a player he looked already in that preseason, and then losing him is going to be tough. Tomiyasu then filled in, red carded, so he was out, and then Kivior comes in against Fulham, as Zinchenko, who didn't have a preseason, will slowly integrate back into the team. But for me, if you look at why this formation hasn't been working, I think last year what made Saka so good was the overlap from Ben White at right back. And in this formation, Thomas Partey doesn't overlap Saka on the right wing. So I feel like is making Saka and Odegaard a little one-dimensional, because both of them on that right-hand side just always look to cut in, and there's nobody overlapping on the right. Then we look at the left. So far, Martinelli hasn't impressed me at all. He's had some rough performances, and I think that's down to he doesn't really have a partnership with Havertz yet. There's no real link up over there. And then when Jesus comes in, a lot of times he would go out wide on the left and help overlap Martinelli. And Nketiah and Trossard just haven't done that so far. So I think Martinelli is not used to playing with Havertz, and playing without an inverted left back, which is why I feel like Martinelli has also struggled because he's been kind of exposed out there as well. Now, if we look at sort of the stats from the first three games, the left first game on the left, Nottingham Forest, you could see that we dominated possession, had way more shots, but the XG wasn't there. The two goals we scored were not directly from the corner kick, but after the ball got recycled, so not a real open play goal there. Against Palace, similar possession. It's a tough place to play at Palace, but 14 shots each, and we only scored a penalty. And then when you look at the Fulham game, dominated possession again. The XG says we should have won 3-0. And it wasn't until Arteta made the subs, bringing on Fabio Vieira and Zinchenko, till we actually scored. We got a penalty, and then Vieira assisted Nketiah. So far with the new system, we haven't really scored a real open play goal, which is worrying. Two players I really want to talk about are the two new signings, Declan Rice and Kai Havertz. So far, for me, Declan Rice has been the best player throughout the first three games. I think it looks like he already understands his role very well. It looks like he's already been a part of this team. And he just is so good with his decision making, his passing. You can tell he's sort of taken on a leadership when he's in that midfield, being very vocal, pointing. And he's been good defensively, tracking back, um, breaking the lines with his passes. Declan Rice has really impressed me so far. And I think for him to be looking like the best player, is worrying because this is just his third game here, and guys who have been here for a while seem to not be getting off to the same start that he is. And then to the right, Kai Havertz. Now another one of our new signings. Kai Havertz has already like split the fan base, and you can already just tell like Kai Havertz is going to cause a lot of controversy within the Arsenal fan base and team selection. And already we see 3 games in, Kai Havertz looking a bit worrying for me. The signing, I'm not gonna scapegoat him or blame Kai Havertz for anything yet, but there are some things that I don't like from Kai Havertz, and that's one, he doesn't look aggressive to me on the field in terms of his attacking presence. I think he slows down the play a bit too much. There were a couple times where he would go backwards instead of going forward. Defensively, he doesn't really add anything to that midfield in a defensive sense. And, I'm going to give him time. I think it's way too early to say to give a verdict on the Havertz signing. But so far, when I look at, say, James Maddison at Tottenham, who costs less than Kai Havertz, and the impact that he's making when he gets the ball, he wants the ball. He's creating chances, and that's something that Kai Havertz hasn't done so far. He's been sort of a ghost the first 3 games of the season. And when you look at what Granit Xhaka brought to the team last season, and Granit Xhaka even was scoring goals last season, so to replace him with Kai Havertz, and Kai Havertz, all he's really brought so far is height to the attack, is a bit concerning. But I'm willing to give Kai Havertz time, but I definitely need to see more from Kai Havertz. Looking forward, I think we got to stop this inverting Thomas Partey from right back just because I feel like it limits Saka so much. I feel like we need to get Ben White back at right back, bring Gabriel back into the team. Zinchenko is coming back from injury, so he's going to be available for selection. And then I say we drop Kai Havertz. I think especially for this Man United game coming up, Man United, a big game. They have not looked great so far in their first 3 games either. I want to see Declan Rice, Partey, and Odegaard in midfield. I don't want to see Kai Havertz. I want to see Zinchenko inverting from left back. I want to see Ben White overlapping Saka. Not sure if Gabriel Jesus is going to be fit for the game, but if we start out with Nketiah up top and Martinelli, I want to see Rice playing that 8 role and linking up with Martinelli because in the preseason game, I believe against Sevilla, that's where he played, and Rice looked promising in attack. So hopefully this is the team that we see against United. After 3 games, the performances have not been great, but we've been able to get results. We got a result against Palace. We dropped points against Fulham. But overall, I'm not panicking. I'm not worried, but I'm hope to see more improvement in the future.